Okay, sorry again, guys, for not being able to attend this Saturday's class, but I wanted to record a video that you guys can follow. What I'm starting here with is the macro tests that I run most recently on your Excel files. So what you'll find is a tab named Test2. This isn't what your document's going to look like, but within your feedback, if you open up your Excel file that I've attached, you'll see a Test2 tab in there. This is not exactly what it's going to look like, but what you'll see in that Test2 tab is much like the Test1 tab, you'll see all the different tests that I've done or that the macro has done. So here, just explaining it to you again, what the change is, for example, in your general tab here was to go to the general, change the sales and collection selling price from $21.25 to $10, and then it made changes as well in that grid that you had in the units sold. And then these are the results that were expected to happen after that was done, because that's where the changes were done. Okay. So what this macro test does, sorry, this is what it is before, and then sorry, these are the ones that it changed. It only changed these ones that are selected here, and then this is what the result is expected to be. So sorry, just to explain that again, this is the change, this selling price to $10, and then all this in this grid that you have in your general tab, it changed it to these amounts that you see, just the ones down here. So for example, January 2015 changed from 3,300 to 100. Okay, the years might not line up, but you get the point. You get the gist of it, right? There's 3 years of units sold, and this is what it changed to. So the 3,300 changed to 100. The 3,330 here in March 2016 changed to 2,100, and so on and so forth. Okay, so from there, the check results is much like we saw before. What we should have seen in your schedules is these amounts is what should be, and then your amounts will be populated here. Again, this is just my clear macro file, so there is no student results. If there is any errors in your file, you'll see it highlighted in red, and that's kind of how the rest of it works. Okay, again, changes here in yellow, and then this is what the results were. So read it much like you did last time and try to see wherever there's yellow, that's where the changes were made by the macro. It doesn't mean you need to make those changes. All it means is this is how we're doing the test, okay? So really make sure you understand that part. If you have trouble with that, please email me, as I will be available by email, and I can tend to any of your questions over email. But for the most part, I'm hoping that most of you can understand how this works. Again, the two tabs that were marked are, if I go to the tabs, the ones that I marked were schedules and cash budget, and in the next lecture that I'm going to post here, or the video that I'm going to post, I'll show you what you need to do for this week and what needs to be submitted. And so going back to this, what I've also attached to the email I sent you is just one called an Excel document called common feedback. So it's just this tab here by itself. What this is it's giving you just the common feedback that there would be in the areas that there were errors. Okay, so I didn't specifically send this to each student and look at what your errors were. What this is just a general feedback. So if you see that you have some mistakes or you see some red in this first section, take a look at what the common feedback is here and try to see if this applies to your file. Again, for the change general 2, if you have errors in this section, refer to this section here for the feedback to see what might be wrong in your file. Okay. One thing I did want to show you guys, so the schedules, I think for the most part, most students did okay on this. What you have to just make sure here is, again, what students struggled with, and I'm going to give you a little hint, or I'm going to show you what the formula is this offset formula. Okay, so you can see there, maybe pause the video, take a look at what the formula is. What I saw there was some errors that people weren't quite able to figure out this offset formula in the purchases units purchased cell, so E25, and this formula goes all the way over here. So this is the general formula that you want to use. It is the offset formula that you need to know. I really hope every one of you did give it a good crack, but sometimes it didn't work for some of you. The other thing for this to work, you'll see E27 is referenced. That's because it's very important that you have this formula as well in all of row 27. Okay, so that's again another, that's going to drive your offset formula above. So make sure, I'm going to keep going. You can see I'm moving to the right. The formula is pretty much the same up until you hit O, P, Q, and R columns, and that's where you see the general part of the if statement that has the logical test changes. So please make sure that your formula is according to that. Again, pause the video, take a look at that formula, and make sure yours agrees to that. Okay, the other thing I saw was here in the cash budget tab. Everyone seemed to do okay, and really the formulas here should work pretty straightforward in terms of how you're calculating kind of all the way from here. You should know how to reference. I'd recommend you ask another student maybe in the class to help you out if you have anything up at the top that needs fixing. Also take a look at the common feedback tab to see if there's any errors. But what I want to show you right now is this section here. A lot of students last week had questions about this one. It's one that I saw a lot of people had errors in. So I'm just going to give you again another hint on how this formula works. What you'll see is it's going to be an if statement, and the part of the formula that says interest received here, you're not going to copy that. Again, I'm going to repeat this to you because a lot of students are going to get confused and going to try to actually copy this formula. Do not copy it exactly. You really have to understand what this formula is saying. And what it's saying is it's going, if C46, right here, C46 is equal to 0, then you need to calculate interest received. Okay? So again, I'm going to tell you, if what this means, this is amount of loan required, that means if this is equal to 0, meaning if you do not have a loan receivable, or you don't have a loan, then calculate interest received. Okay, and again, this interest received, ignore this part of the formula here. Okay, because all this is doing, what this file that I have has done, it's actually named the cell back here, but really interest received is in your general tab is referring to the borrowing rate here. Okay, so it's actually referencing this cell here. So most likely in your files, you're just going to reference that cell instead of this interest received, and then you multiply that by C48, which is your cash balance at end of period after borrowing. Okay, so what this formula is saying is if you're borrowing money, don't calculate interest received. Okay, and then on the flip side, what we have here is this is saying interest paid. So you're going to pay interest if you're borrowing money. So it's almost the same thing in the formula, except it's saying C46 greater than or equal, or kind of less than or greater than 0. If it is C46, then calculate interest paid in a negative. So multiply it by -1 just to make it negative. And then if it's not, then just it'll be 0. Okay? Another thing I want to say is do not look at this file right now and try to make your numbers equal this. Okay? I want to make that clear because some students are going to go, okay, I'm going to try to make it match to what I'm looking at here. What I'm showing you right now, these numbers don't mean anything right now. So please don't stress out about trying to make your numbers equal this. This is just me showing you the formulas, and that's the most important part. Okay? So really try to understand how these two formulas work and reference it. Again, interest paid is not, you're not going to type INTPD, you're just going to link it back to your general tab to the T-bill rate, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I got it backwards. So, sorry, the T-bill rate is for your savings, and your borrowing rate, or sorry, your T-bill rate is for if you have savings and interest for your interest received, and the borrowing rate is for interest paid. Okay, so replace your interest received in that other formula with E19, and your interest paid, which is your borrowing rate, with E20. Okay, so with that, the other thing I wanted to show you was this one, which is a little tricky. Again, minimum balance in this formula, make a note of that. Minimum balance is just referring to this cell here, D16. So where it says min balance, you're just going to reference it to D16. Okay, so what this here is saying, a lot of students struggled with this. All it's saying here is if your minimum balance is greater than C44, then you're gonna have to borrow money, okay? Because you have a minimum cash balance, and then it has a formula there. So I'll let you look at that and figure that out. But that's a key part that that is going to drive kind of this bottom section here from kind of row 37 and below. It's going to really be affected by these two formulas. Okay, and then the other thing was this little tricky section over here that I had talked about at the end of the class, and some of you may have missed, was these formulas here. So I'm just going to kind of highlight them and let you see what the formulas are. But there's a VLOOKUP here. Some students did get it, which was great to see. There's a VLOOKUP formula for you, so make sure, again, tables and miscellaneous, it's referencing your tables and miscellaneous tab. So doing a VLOOKUP there, that one's similar. And then here you're just referencing your general tab, row 67 and 68, and you'll see that in the general tab. And then here I'll let you see this formula as well, because it is quite tricky. It is a SUMIF formula, but that is the gist of what you want to have in that formula. Again, don't worry about the dollar amounts that are actually in my cells versus yours. You do not need to make them match to what you're looking at right here on the screen. The key is that you want to try to get that formula right. Okay, so again, maybe pause it, take a look at that formula, and make sure that you have it right. And yeah, and that's it for this kind of overview, and I'll post another video that shows you kind of what you have to do for next week and what that is. Thank you.